Hello, here I am again. Imagine that. Okay, I'm going to show you how I make, this will be a decorative um, witch bottle. Found me a pretty bottle. Now, a little bit of history for those of you who don't know. The witch bottle, witch jars, and the witch balls are used for protection for that specific witch or whatever else she wants to put in there. A lot of them, to be honest with you, are kind of nasty jars. You don't want them sitting around your house. Some witches put, their blood in them. There's a lot of nasty stuff like pins, um, pieces of mirror, broke glass. I've even heard of some witches putting a used tampon in there, so it will have their DNA on it. However they want to do, and a lot of them will just use a little bitty jar, and they'll bury it somewhere to protect themselves. I kind of like mine having mine out in the open. Like I said, all my witchy stuff is all throughout my house. I incorporate it into my everyday world. It's around me all the time. So I've come up with the idea to make one that's pretty, that you can set around and nobody would even know what it is. When I'm done with this, I could set it by the door, by my front door, or in my living room. I probably won't set it up on top of anything. It'll be sitting down in the floor somewhere. Just simply because of my animals. If they knock it over, it's pretty thick glass, but I don't want it to break. Or knock themselves in the head, knock them out. But the witch balls, most of the witches go, to the dollar store, Walmart, wherever, and get the clear Christmas ornaments that are just a round ball. You can get plastic or glass, and then they take the ornament top, out of it and fill it with what they want. Most of the time it's painted, they'll paint from the inside. They'll get the acrylic paints, pour them down in there, roll them around in the ball, and then wait for it to dry really well. And then they start putting whatever they want in their jar. Now, you can put whatever you want in this jar. You can make it as big, as small as you want. I've seen them, about like that, even little tiny bottles. However you want to do it, it's yours, make it yours. I just come up with this because I want it sitting around my house so I can look at it. It's no different than making a sachet for protection and hanging it up on your rearview mirror in your car. Nobody goes out and buries them. Do it however you want to. This combines a traditional and new modern, what I would consider a modern way of doing it. And I'm an old witch, so you can see how I am. If it's new and different, I like it. There are certain things in the craft that I am very strong-minded about, but most of it I'm pretty outgoing about it, or open to suggestions and better ideas. Okay, now when you include, this is a protection jar or bottle. Mine's going to be a bottle. You remember that you want to protect anything you want to protect. You need to symbolize it here, or I put a separate herb for each one, or a separate thing for each one. You do it how you want. I already have hibiscus in here. It represents love to me, and that way the love in this home will be protected from harm. I already enchanted it. Now, before I put anything in this bottle, I washed it really good with soap and water, let it dry, and I saged it. Lit a sage stick, held it upside down, let the sage go in there. And then I put the lid back on it right fast, and it stayed on until I got ready to do something with it. Okay, so I have that in there. Now I'm going to also add some roses, dried roses. This is also for protection of the love in the home. And they also look pretty. They smell pretty, which is the big purpose of my jar. I want it to be deadly but look pretty. Does that make sense? Well, be deadly to negative energy. So I'm going to pour some of these in there. And I'm fixing to tell you why. Okay. Okay. Now, since I'm actually making this, and this is what I'm going to be using for the next year, I'm going to have to stop and enchant between each one, but it doesn't take me long because I've been doing this for so long. I don't have to sit here for 15 minutes and do it. So between each one of these, you'll have to give me a minute, and you'll know what I'm doing. Okay. Now, if you notice too, I use my right hand. Anything you want to bring towards you, good, or receive. And this is what I've always been taught. It might not be right, but this is how I do it. The right hand is for receiving, bringing in, and your left hand, or your dominant hand, I guess. My right hand would be for receiving and bringing in. My left hand is for pushing away, banishing. So I guess you could go with, if you wanted to, it would make sense to go for your dominant hand to bring in, and your other hand to push away. However you want to do it. The dominant hand is usually the one, people use. Anyway, you do that how you want. I've always heard the right hand is this, and that's also where you hear the right hand path, the left hand path, yada yada, it goes on. But that too can be a whole other video. So we're going to move on to the next one. Now, if you don't have some of these herbs or whatever, that's fine. You use whatever you want to do. A lot of these herbs that I have out here also are for protection. They can be used for protection, but I'm using a different quality in them other than protection. But they will also be adding protection, if that makes any sense. I'm enchanting them for another specific task. So the rosemary, everybody has this. I need to really just take this off of here, but yeah. And you put as much or how, I've got a pretty big bottle here, so I'm going to have to put more in it. Rosemary smells wonderful. And this is for protection in this bottle. Okay. Now, I'm trying to go in order that I have here so I don't leave anything out. Now, I've decided to use mistletoe also as protection in here. And, I'm not measuring it out. I'm just eyeballing it this time. Like I said, put how much ever you want in it. Okay. Also, when I said earlier, you can put your intent, anything you want in here for it to protect. A lot of the witches jars, witches bottles, they're for protection for themselves. In mine, and since it's going to be, sitting around my house, I am putting the intent in here that it protects all the household inhabitants, including my pets, me, my husband, and our 2 cats. Nonstop protection for all of us. Okay, now I'm going to put these in the bottom here. I have to get these out. My fingers won't fit inside here. I'm going to put about a half a tablespoonful of amethyst chips in here. And everybody knows why I do that. These are already enchanted in this box, so I'm not gonna enchant those this time because I did that when they came in. They're for that specific purpose and that purpose only. So that's one that we can skip. Okay, and of course the cinnamon. Now this, and while I'm thinking about it, because I just looked at my candle, it's not lit. I usually have a black candle burning, and if I know you can't see here, I'm just going to leave it like that. Y'all can still hear me, you just can't see me, which might be a good thing. Haha. So hopefully y'all can see this. But I have my pinnacle down here. You don't have to do this, but I feel for me it's necessary. It brings more power to the intent that I'm putting in here. And I always have fire. I love fire. It's my element. I work with it. I play with it. I talk to it. It's mine. And the black is absorbing any other negative energy that may be wanting to interfere with what I'm casting inside this bottle. You don't have to do that. You can light a white candle for purification. You don't have to have a candle at all. I usually do my incense and my candle when I'm making anything, whether it be an oil or this right here that I'm doing, or a mist, whatever I'm making. I try to still implement, you know, these three things. Anyway, the cinnamon, this is your universal herb. You can use this for almost anything, and it comes in a lot of different forms. When I'm doing stuff like this, I'll just use the sticks, and I'm probably going to put probably 3 of them in here. Usually, if I can go by measurements, that one's broke. I don't want a broke one. I will put, and they're pretty good size. Can you see that? I'm trying to get it where you can see it. They're pretty good size. If I can go in measurements, I'll go in 3, 6, or 9s. Now, normally, since this is such a big jar, I would go at least 6. But since these are so big around, they're big around as cigars. So I'm just going to put 3 of them in here. And then we're going to enchant them. Oh, and this is also, did I tell you, it's for psychic protection is what I'm using it for. It's a protection, it's money, it's luck, it's you name it. Look cinnamon up. It is almost for everything. I'm using it in this jar for psychic attack, protection from psychic attacks for all of us in the home. Okay, that's done. Now, moving right along to my big boys. I'm going to have to scoot this up a minute because these are my pretty coffin nails. Now, the whole purpose of the witch jar and putting shards of glass, I believe that the like mirror shards or glass, I believe, you know, we use glass stuff in mirrors to reflect hexes or to bounce them off and return them to sender, stuff like that. The pins and stuff, you know, are going to poke any, you know, if you walk up and start walking on a bunch of pins and needles, you're not going to want to stay in there, right? Well, that same way as negative energy does, it detects these sharp objects in here and it don't want no part of it. So it goes away. I'm going to set my paper on fire here. So my coffin nails are going to serve a lot of purposes here. Look at these pretties. I've got them wrapped up because they also have oils on them. Protection oils, and they're, well, kind of stuck together now, dang it. But they were rusted. And chipped off and have little pieces of the stuff around them. They've been soaked in. Now around this, if you want to use stuff like this, you can put anything in here. You can put a poisonous herb, you know, to ward it off. Whatever you want to put around your nails. But they're pretty neat. And the pieces of the nail that are coming off to me are reflecting. I notice you can't see it in the computer, but they're reflecting. So that also goes as my mirror. And of course, you know, the nail will stab you. And it being a coffin nail, that means doom, the ending for the negative energy. So I'm going to put, let's see. This is also why I made me a little soft spot for these to land. I can put them in here as slowly and as best as I can, but I didn't want to slam them down in there and press my jar. Actually, I meant to shake all that up before I did that too. But this jar is pretty thick, so one, two. We're just going to put 3 in here. I may need some for something else this year. Let's see. Yeah, we'll just put 3. That'll be all right. Now those have already been blessed and enchanted and oiled. They have special oils on them. Like I said, you don't have to do it this way. You can throw thumbtacks in here. You can throw straight pins. You can buy some of those little tiny straight pins that have the little round balls on top of them. You can get a big box of them for little or nothing, you know, under $2. So you can use them.